It's time for an oil change on the 6.0. Looks a little different. Got the bigger headlights and a white and chrome bumper. And we just did a CarPlay radio last night. Other than that, nothing much has changed. This will be my first oil change. So, go over what I'm using and then kind of go over how to buy one of these trucks. It's been about a month and it's given me no issues besides the last video I mentioned. I put a 6.4 starter in it like the day after I bought it. It's still looking fresh in there. Thing starts hot, no problem. Hasn't given me a single issue besides that slow crank when I bought it, so safe to say I bought a good one. So I'll show you guys how you can do the same. First thing I do is just crack the oil filter, let it hang up there and drain. I lost my 36 for the top, so I just used a big pair of channel locks. Works just fine as long as you don't break that top off, but I haven't had an issue with it yet. So now we're gonna get under there, drain all the oil out of it, and then change that filter out. See if I can get the money shot. Never been good at this without a camera, so let's see how much oil I get on my hand. Oh, not too bad. She's pretty black. Probably good for an oil change, I'd say. A little dark, could be worse. While we got it draining, swap the filter. When it comes to Ford diesels, I would always use Motorcraft personally. The FL 2016 is what fits these 6.0s, and I'm pretty sure 6.4s. And that's also right there, other way. What came out of it, same part number, Motorcraft, so that's always a good sign. Don't forget to change your O-ring. I haven't yet. This little O-ring, so your cap doesn't spew oil. Alright, drain plug's tight, oil filter's in. First thing I'm gonna go in with, some of this stuff. I mean, say what you want, but I stand by it, and I've had results from it. So I'm gonna use it every oil change, personally. This truck actually, I pulled up to a stop sign one day and it had a dead miss running on 7 cylinders. So I did the right thing and I did a huge pull and then got to Walmart and put some of this stuff in it, and it hasn't done it since. So we're just gonna keep doing that. I had an old truck I also used it on. It cleared up the injectors a lot because the injectors in that truck were shot. So that stuff helps for sure. I would recommend it. A little pricey, but I think it's worth the money. And then it's about 90 degrees out and it's like 10:30, so we're going in with 1540 Rotella. I think this truck, I think they're gonna take about 14 or 15 quarts from what I remember, so get that in there and see what it says on the dipstick. All right, 14 quarts, 1540, 1 quart Hot Shot Section Eliminator. It's good to go, full on the dipstick, no leaks. Me personally, I'm always going to use 1540 on a Huey injector truck, like a 6.0 or a 7.3. I mean, I use what oil I see fit. My old 6.7, a common rail V8, I used T6 5W40. But when it comes to like an old truck or a Huey truck, I'm gonna use 1540 personally. I've ran them in real cold weather with 1540 in it, but I guess it just depends how cold it gets for your winters. But I'm not gonna drive this thing in the winter because it's fairly clean for an Indiana truck. I mean, needs some work, but there's no real rot, so I'll clean it up this winter so it can have 540 in it. It won't be driven in any 0 degree temperatures, I can tell you that. So, how to buy a good one of these trucks? It's not as hard as it may seem. These trucks can be awesome trucks and very reliable if you just do the basics. I mean, it doesn't take much. But first off, I'm gonna say this truck is an 06. My old truck was an 04. From here on out, I'm staying away from 03 and 04 trucks. A few differences is they're gonna have a leaf spring front axle and not the coil spring front axle. And the turning radius is not good at all, to say the least. That was my major complaint with the leaf springs. They did ride good. I didn't mind them in that sense, but I could hardly turn out of my driveway in the truck. So that was a big issue for me. The interiors aren't as nice in my opinion. They obviously have the updated dash and the 05 and 07. And they have a few motor differences. Early 03s and 04s have a completely different rail under the valve cover. They're not gonna have the wavy rail with standpipes and dummy plugs like the 05 to 07. But without the standpipes and dummy plugs, you also get a super unreliable high pressure oil pump. The 05 to 07 high pressure oil pump is very reliable, and that's not a cheap fix. Even if you do it yourself, the high pressure oil pump is several $100s. So I'm gonna try to stay away from that and just buy an 05 to 07 personally. And of course, good way to tell, the ICP is right there on the valve cover on an 05 to 07. On an 03, 04, it'll be way behind the turbo, kind of near the IPR, under the turbo. And with these trucks, they tend to leak oil kind of back and down. So then with that ICP pigtail, it'll get a bunch of oil in it. You'll have more pigtail problems than you do up here. And as you can imagine, a pigtail all the way back under there is a nightmare to fix. And it's gonna be a common issue. If it hasn't already been done, you'll probably have to do it again, even if it has been done. But that's most of your major differences. I figured out there's a lot more differences than you might think, but those are some of your major ones that steered me away from owning an 03, 04 outright at all. So the first thing I'm gonna do is strictly look for 05 to 07 trucks. And some more basic information that goes with any truck, not just these, but I've learned my lesson 3 times, unfortunately, and this is my 4th diesel truck. So buy it from an older guy is all I can say. The 3 trucks I've owned before this, I bought from younger kids, and they needed a ton of work, tons of it, and they were just not as advertised in the slightest. It's very rare that you'll get a guy like me. I'm turning 20 this week, and I take care of my trucks. I maintain them. I know my stuff. It's hard to find a guy like me, and this truck I probably won't sell. So I bought this truck from a guy who was 75, and I have about an inch thick folder of receipts. I know everything that's been touched and done to this truck since 2017, so that helps a lot. I know what's been done. Nothing on this truck is really a question to me, I'd say. The dude maintained his stuff. It was better than advertised. I mean, the description was super short. I bought it on Marketplace. The guy would barely give me the time of day, but that made it even better because when I showed up, I mean, I knew this thing was probably going to be pretty mint, which it had its things, just a few little things, which is no problem. This was just a backup truck. He didn't drive it much, so buying it off an older guy is always going to be better than a young kid that's hot rodding this thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm a good mix in between, obviously. Had to straight pipe this thing, and I'm gonna hot rod it. But that's also a debatable topic. I personally firmly believe that most diesel trucks need to be driven hard. With him not driving this thing much, it had about 40,000 miles in 8 years. So it kind of hazed when it was cold, and it had that dead miss once. It just didn't idle as smooth, and ever since I started driving it hard like I do, I've put about 1,000 miles on it. This thing runs smooth as can be. I mean, it runs great now. All because I didn't do anything but drive it hard. That was my only fix. So that's gonna be, you know, the only con I see with it being babied around is it may not idle as smooth. They like to be ran through real good. My personal rule of thumb is I always do at least one pull every time I drive it, and it seemed to work well for me. So now some more specific stuff pertaining to these engines. Honestly, I'm gonna say the more stock these are, the better luck you're gonna have. Personally, as far as I would go with buying one is pretty much as I have right here. In the listing pictures, it still had stock pipes and intake, so they must have been old pictures because these came on it. But as far as I would go is studded and deleted. If you look right there, you can see the head studs. Obviously, they're gonna be not like a bolt like that. That's what a head bolt would look like. Those are the head studs. You can see another one over there. So that's what you want to look for to make sure it's head studded. I've heard of people lying about them, but I've never seen them being lied about personally. Like, they'll stud the outers, or they'll stud it one at a time without pulling the heads. I mean, it's just luck of the draw. If it has the head studs, then that's all you can really look for. This one is EGR deleted. In my opinion, it just makes it easier to work on. There's no reason to even have it there. Does nothing but cause problems. And these don't have a DPF or anything, so there's really no reason to have any emissions. The delete is easy to do. You might as well just get it out of there. And obviously, you know, the easy things, your head gaskets shouldn't be holding pressure. You know, you'll see white spots around this coolant tank. If it's blowing coolant out of it, that'll be pretty obvious. You know, mine doesn't hold pressure or have any stains on the hood or on the battery or anywhere around that on the pipes of coolant. If it's blowing coolant, then I would just stay away from it. It could be something simple like a cap, but usually if I see anything that could cause big problems, I'm just gonna walk away. You know, obviously you can check your blow-by, average diesel stuff, just make sure it's got fluids in it. But mainly, of course, you want to test drive it and make sure it shifts good and everything's fine. The easy stuff, but mainly, as far as buying a good one, I'm gonna judge the truck off the owner from here on out, because my first truck, I was young and I wanted one so bad. I was told it needed standpipes and dummy plugs. It ended up that the whole bottom end in it was tore up. Low pressure oil pump was broke. I mean, that thing was messed up. So, and I bought it off some guy, you know, he was a friend of a friend, mid-20s, and I knew he beat the hell out of it. I mean, it was bed stacked, had all the fancy stuff in it, big injectors, 10-blade turbo. I can't even remember anymore. It had some good parts in it, but it was tore up. And, you know, I've owned a 7.3. I traded that 6.0 for a 7.3 after I fixed it. 7.3 was kind of a pile, and the dude just had no idea. Told me it was mint. It needed a whole front end rebuild. I broke the rear axle. I replaced, well, the pinion bearing in it was shot, so I just put a whole axle in it. I've had a 6.7 Powerstroke, needed a whole front end rebuild. Dude had no idea. He's like, oh, it just drives like a truck. I'm like, this thing drives terrible. So, yeah, old guy, I mean, he gave me everything he ever did to this thing in receipts. Gave me a bunch of extra parts with it. I mean, it had way more than I thought when I got there. I mean, interior's pretty clean. I mean, I still got an interior swap for it. That'll probably be one of the upcoming videos. But clean interior. I did a little work, but everything works. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this truck at all. AC works. Heat is insanely hot. I mean, it's a good truck, and you can tell by the owner that he took care of it. That's going to be your most important thing, in my opinion. The last few things I'm going to go over is, if the truck does not have one of these, it's not a problem, but if you can, I would bring something with you to read oil temps, because these have kind of a oil cooler with coolant flowing through it in the valley, and they tend to get clogged, and the oil temps can get extremely out of control on these things. And if you don't have anything to know what the oil temp is, that can be a big problem, because they'll go, I've seen them pretty high. This one, I just took a gamble on it. I didn't have a monitor. I didn't know what the oil temps were, but I did see a receipt in the folder of an oil cooler replacement a couple years ago, so I figured they were probably okay, but I still bought one of these as soon as I got home. So that's a big thing to look for, is oil temps. I mean, on a hot summer day, they can get really bad. And this also helps you read injection control pressure, which is going to be what fires the injectors. That's your high pressure oil. And when they have a hot no start, it's going to be your injection control pressure is low. So me personally, I'd like to pick one up on a hot summer day, because cold starts are relatively easy to fix. They're cheap, You just need really glow plugs, the harnesses, and the module. It's not too expensive. A high pressure oil leak on these is what I'm really worried about. So I'm gonna drive one as long as I can, and then, you know, get back to their house or whatever, shut it off, wait a few minutes, and then try to fire it up hot. And if it cranks long, then you have some work coming in your future. This one, I mean, it's not super hot right now, but you know, I've driven it long enough to know that it's fine. Like, it had a long crank, hot, but the starter was really weak in it. So you can get away with putting a nice starter on it and it'll get you by for a while. So this one's perfectly fine. 120 degrees right now, so not hot at all in my opinion. Not hot enough to have a hot no start. You have your injection control pressure. It needs 500 to sit here and idle. And your duty cycle, it'll be at 0.85 if something's wrong. If it's really low like this, that's good because it means it's not working very hard. And as you can see, the idle is super smooth. It barely varies RPM. It used to jump around like 20 RPM at idle when the older dude drove it. Like I said, it just needed to be cleaned up a little bit. Needed some holes and to be driven every